sister would never, ever have done anything to do any harm to any child, especially within our family.
Now that Dionne Warwick is getting older, she's decided it's time to clear the air and finally speak on the wild rumor that has followed her for years.
It was an explosive moment in that powerful documentary about the rise and fall of the superstar singer Whitney Houston. Allegations that she and her brother were both as children.
Her career hasn't exactly been free of drama, from accusations that she misused funds from her AIDS foundation.
The incidents that occurred because of my fundraising efforts. I'm not a fundraiser, I'm a singer. But I feel if I can pull together people to kind of bring awareness, if nothing else.
To the fracas that went on between her and Cissy Houston, and even her battles with bankruptcy. Dionne's name has been tied to some pretty shocking headlines, but she's setting the record straight this time. So, let's get into it. Dionne Warwick's journey wasn't exactly free from controversy. In fact, a lot of those controversies ended up shaping how people saw her career. One of the earliest and most shocking came from Whitney Houston's documentary directed by Kevin MacDonald. In it, Whitney's half-brother, Gary Garland Houston, claimed that Dionne Warwick, Dionne's sister, had molested both him and Whitney when he was between 7 and 9 years old. The claims were backed by Whitney's longtime assistant, who said Whitney once told her the same thing, that she was abused by a woman when she was a kid.
I was 8, 9 years old, and I was being fondled with, from time to time. It was a situation I didn't understand. I knew it was abnormal.
Did you know that Whitney had it too?
I had no idea.
Did you know?
We talked about it, but it was referencing my daughter. We would travel with work. We would argue about me leaving Rhea behind, and I never could understood why she was so adamant about her.
Dionne, who passed away in 2008, also had her own history of drug struggles. But Whitney's mom, Cissy Houston, strongly denied those claims, calling them unfathomable. She said Dionne may have had her issues, but she could never believe that she'd do something so terrible to her own family.
I have tried to refrain from responding to that. First of all, it's totally hogwash.
Cissy also said none of them, not her, not Dan, not Whitney's brother Michael, had ever heard of those allegations before. To her, the film's claims were just rumors and hearsay, especially since neither Whitney nor Dionne was alive to confirm or deny anything. Naturally, Dionne Warwick was furious when the documentary dropped. She told People magazine that she was still heartbroken and angry about what was said about her sister. Dionne described Dionne as a loving, giving person, and said what was portrayed in the film was absolutely untrue, something she'd never forgive.
I have I will never, and I mean this, ever forgive those who perpetuate this insanity.
For many fans, the story was shocking because Dionne and Dionne weren't just famous singers. They were close-knit family and widely respected in the music world. So hearing something so dark about Dionne came as a painful surprise. Dionne stood her ground, saying her sister would never harm a child, especially one within their own family. She even called the accusations evil and total hogwash in an interview with Larry King, saying she was determined to protect her sister's name and legacy.
My sister would never, ever have done anything to do any harm to any child, especially within our family. And for those lies to be perpetuated.
Even though Dionne isn't around to speak for herself, Dionne has said it's been hard on the family to keep hearing those accusations. She feels they're not only false, but also hurtful, tarnishing her sister's memory and bringing more pain to people who are still grieving. To her, the claims disrespect not just Dionne, but Whitney too, both of whom can't defend themselves anymore. At one point, Dionne also had a public falling out with Whitney's mom, Cissy Houston. But this time, it wasn't about Dionne, it was about Whitney. After Whitney passed, Cissy decided to write a book about her daughter's life. The book talked about Whitney's fame, her struggles, her addictions, basically everything behind the spotlight.
Everybody in the world was trying to write a book, so that's what made me write a book. I wanted to let everybody know that she was really nothing like they thought she was.
Cissy said she wanted to tell the truth and show the real Whitney, but Dionne wasn't completely comfortable with it. She felt some things were too personal and shouldn't have been shared publicly, especially since Whitney wasn't around to give her own side. That difference in opinion created tension between them. Dionne believed family matters should stay private, while Cissy believed the world deserved to know who her daughter really was. Fans quickly picked up on the tension, with some siding with Cissy for being open and others agreeing with Dionne that certain stories should have stayed in the family. Still, over time, Dionne and Cissy managed to reconnect. They realized that despite their disagreements, they both loved Whitney deeply and were just trying to honor her in their own ways. Career-wise, Dionne kept making waves. She worked closely with her longtime songwriting team, Burt Bacharach and Hal David, creating hit after hit.
You had this quite incredible team with Burt Bacharach.
Absolutely. And Hal David.
And Hal David, let's not forget Hal David. How does that happen? I mean, why did he spotted you, didn't he?
We kind of found each other.
When I heard Dionne sing, and the more that I recorded with Dionne, the more I could see I could take chances with her. So there wasn't anything that I felt was really challenging for Dionne.
But in the early 70s, she made a bold move. She left Scepter Records, the label where she built her name, and signed a massive $5 million deal with Warner Brothers Records, the biggest contract ever given to a female singer at the time. Her last project with Scepter was the soundtrack for The Love Machine, and she even made a small cameo in the film, though she wasn't credited for it. When Dionne Warwick made the move to Warner Brothers, things seemed exciting on the surface, but behind the scenes, it was messy. Her longtime songwriters, Burt Bacharach and Hal David, the guys behind most of her big hits, ended up suing Scepter Records, claiming they hadn't been paid the royalties they were owed. They won nearly $600,000 and got full rights to all the music they'd made for the label. With Dionne gone and money problems piling up, Scepter eventually went bankrupt and got sold off to another company. After signing her massive deal with Warner Bros., Dionne went back to New York to record her first album under the label. The album, Dionne, came out, but it didn't really take off like she hoped. It only reached number 57 on the Billboard charts. Still, she stayed determined to make the new chapter work. But just as she was trying to settle in, her partnership with Bacharach and David suddenly collapsed. The two had just finished working on the film Lost Horizon, which critics tore apart. After that, they decided to split ways, ending their legendary run as a duo. That breakup hit Dionne hard. She still had to make albums for Warner Bros., but now she didn't have her trusted team to help shape her sound. She started working with different producers, hoping to find a groove again, but things weren't clicking, and the pressure was on. Warner Bros. Wasn't thrilled either. They felt they weren't getting the star power they paid for without Bacharach and David. Feeling stuck, Dionne decided to sue both songwriters for $5.5 million in 1979, claiming they broke their agreement to keep working with her. After a long legal fight, they eventually settled out of court. Dionne got $5 million and gained ownership of all the recordings they had made together. Then came another headline-grabbing chapter: her time as the face of the Psychic Friends Network. It was a late-night TV infomercial where people could call a 900 number and talk to psychics for advice about their lives. The show ran from 1991 to 1998, with psychic Linda Georgian as the main reader and Dionne as the host. The network blew up in popularity. It was one of the top infomercials on TV, and Dionne reportedly made around $3 million a year from it.
I think that anyone watching this show can benefit from speaking to a psychic.
While the show was a hit, not everyone thought it was a great look for her. Her tour manager, Henry Carr, once shared that Dionne got upset when a young fan at an airport called her the psychic lady from TV. After all her years building a name as a serious singer, she didn't love being remembered more for a call-in psychic show. Things eventually went downhill in 1998 when the company behind the Psychic Friends Network went bankrupt, officially ending Dionne's run as the psychic lady. She kept releasing music after that, but her albums didn't get the same attention as before, marking a quieter phase in her career. On top of that, Dionne faced more trouble when her charity, the Warwick Foundation, came under fire. She started it in 1989 to raise funds and awareness for AIDS patients through concerts and events.
Among the stars who launched a 4-day series of events to raise money to fight AIDS. It happened at a concert last night in New York. Cheryl Washington has the story.
Places like this where people can feel loved, feel supported, feel cared for, and know that they do have a facility that will take care of them.
But in 1993, an investigation by ABC's Day One, hosted by Forrest Sawyer, accused the foundation of mishandling money. The report claimed that only about 3% of the funds actually went to AIDS charities, while most of it was spent on first-class travel and luxury hotels. Basically, very little money was reaching the people who needed it most. And that scandal damaged both her reputation and the foundation's credibility. The report caught everyone off guard and stirred up a lot of backlash. Some AIDS organizations said they ended up in debt after working with Dionne's foundation, while others accused her of not doing enough to actually support the cause. Dionne fired back, saying the report was unfair and even racially biased. She considered suing ABC for defamation, but eventually decided not to take it to court. The ABC story blew up. It got national attention and even won awards for investigative journalism. After that, the IRS started looking into the Warwick Foundation's finances. Not long after, the charity was officially dissolved, marking the end of Dionne's involvement in AIDS fundraising.
The incidents that occurred because of my fundraising efforts, I'm not a fundraiser, I'm a singer. But I feel if I can pull together people to kind of bring awareness, if nothing else.
Things didn't get easier for her financially either. By 2013, Dionne hit a rough patch and had to file for bankruptcy because her debt had gotten out of control. Most of it came from unpaid taxes and bad financial management by people she had trusted for years. According to her, the problem started way back in the late 80s and went on through the mid-90s. Her finances were mishandled and debts kept piling up until it all came crashing down. By the time she filed, Dionne said she had only about $25,500 in assets, but owed more than $10.7 million in debt, most of which was unpaid taxes, around $6.9 million owed to the government, plus all the penalties and interest that had stacked up over time. Filing for bankruptcy was just the start of another long fight. Dionne wanted her tax debt from the 90s to be forgiven and hoped the court would stop the IRS from seizing her assets. But the IRS didn't back down easily. Even though her bankruptcy case was supposed to wipe out most of her old tax debt, they kept coming after her, claiming she still owed money. At one point, Dionne accused the IRS of ignoring a judge's order when they tried to collect new tax bills from 2011 and 2012. The IRS said they discovered more unpaid taxes because Dionne hadn't reported all her income. Dionne wasn't having it. She went back to court, demanding the IRS be punished for not following the rules. The legal back and forth dragged on for years and even got delayed at one point due to a government shutdown. Eventually, though, the case was dismissed, finally bringing the long battle to an end. Now, shifting gears a bit, let's go back to where it all began for Dionne. Dionne Warwick, born Marie Dionne Warwick, came from a family with deep roots in gospel music and faith. Her parents, Arthur Lee Drinkard and Mansell Warwick, were African American with a bit of Native American and Dutch ancestry. She grew up with her younger sister Dee Dee, and younger brother Mansell Jr., who sadly died in an accident at just 21.
We had a brother as well.
Okay, what was I didn't know you had a brother.
Yes.
What was your brother's name?
His name was Mansell Warwick. As a matter of fact, he was killed in a car accident just before he turned 21, yeah.
Her mom managed a gospel group called the Drinkard Singers, while her dad worked as a Pullman porter, a chef, and later as a record promoter. Music ran through the whole family. Her relatives were part of the gospel scene, and that influence rubbed off on Dionne early. She grew up in East Orange, New Jersey, where she was even a Girl Scout for a while. Dionne started singing in church as a child at New Hope Baptist Church in Newark, where her love for gospel music really took root. After high school, she went on to study music at the Hart College of Music in Connecticut to sharpen her skills.
You know, I come from a singing family, a gospel singing family.
Her family's group, the Drinkard Singers, originally called the Drinkard Jubilaires, was already popular in the New York gospel circuit. The group included several of Dionne's relatives, her grandparents, aunts, and uncles, and they helped pave the way for the strong musical foundation Dionne built her career on.
And my grandfather was a minister. We have a lot of common.
Dionne first got a taste of the spotlight when she appeared on TV with her family group, the Drinkard Singers, on a show called TV Gospel Time. That moment marked the real beginning of her music journey. The group was managed by her mom, Lee, and her aunt, Marie. And as their popularity grew, both women also started performing with them. They even added another powerful voice, Judy Clay, a talented singer who had been unofficially adopted by Dionne's mom. The group's harmonies were so good that even Elvis Presley wanted them to perform with him. Besides singing with her family group, Dionne also joined another gospel group called the Gospelaires. The group included amazing singers who would later blow up in their own right: Judy Clay, Cissy Houston, Whitney Houston's mom, and Doris Troy, who became famous for her hit song, Just One Look. Their rich harmonies caught the attention of many big names in the New York music scene, and over time, as Dionne and Doris began making names for themselves, the Gospelaires evolved into a new group called the Sweet Inspirations.
My uncle, Larry, he formed that group for us. It was Dionne, myself, Myrna Smith, who is one of the Sweet Inspirations now.
The Sweet Inspirations became one of the most sought-after background vocal groups in the business. They sang on records for big stars like Aretha Franklin, the Drifters, and even Elvis Presley. Dionne's own break came while recording backup vocals in New York. That's when she met the composer Burt Bacharach. He was blown away by her voice and asked her to record demo versions of songs he wrote with lyricist Hal David. That meeting completely changed her life. It opened the door for her solo career and set her on the path to becoming one of the most iconic voices in pop music. She may have started in gospel, but she carried that soulful spirit into everything she did. Now, about her personal life, Dionne married actor and drummer William Elliott. Their first marriage didn't last long, but love pulled them back together, and they remarried a few months later in Milan, Italy. For a while, things looked good. They settled in East Orange, New Jersey, and had 2 sons, David and Damon. But soon after, things fell apart again, and the couple divorced for good. Money became a big issue during the split. William asked for $2,000 a month in support, even though Dionne was making about $100,000 a month at the time. She spoke openly about the tension, saying, "The male ego is a fragile thing. It's hard when the woman is the breadwinner. All my life, the only man who ever took care of me financially was my father. I've always taken care of myself." Her words really showed how strong and independent she was, even when her personal life got complicated.
And the male ego is a very fragile thing. It really is. It was still quite something for a man named Elliot.
In 2002, Dionne ran into some legal trouble when she was arrested at the Miami airport for carrying marijuana. Security found 11 marijuana cigarettes tucked inside a lipstick container in her carry-on bag. She was charged with possession of a small amount of marijuana, which was another bump in her long and eventful journey. Through everything, her family has always been a big part of her career. Her older son, David, co-wrote Love Will Find a Way, a duet featuring both Dionne and Whitney Houston. He's also performed with his mom as her drummer and even acted in the movie Ally as Sam Cooke. David's since built his own career as a singer and songwriter. Her younger son, Damon, has made a name for himself as a producer, working with stars like Mia, Pink, and Christina Aguilera. He also produced Dionne's album, My Friends and Me, which showed how close they are and how much they support each other's craft.
Now, Damon, you got two sons.
Yes.
David and Damon.
Yes.
They're producers and writers. Both of them very handsome.
Yeah.
Now, these two, they're in the business as well, and they helped you release some new music for your charity.
Yeah. Operation Smile.
Operation Smile.
Yes.
In 2015, Dionne suffered a scary fall in the shower that left her needing ankle surgery, but thankfully, she recovered well. Despite all the ups and downs, the controversies, the lawsuits, the financial struggles, and even the health scares, Dionne Warwick's legacy still stands tall. She's a true music legend with 6 Grammy Awards under her belt and her own star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. She's also been honored in the Grammy Hall of Fame, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, the National Rhythm and Blues Hall of Fame, and the Apollo Theater Walk of Fame. Her name and music have left a mark that will never fade.
Please welcome to the stage the MOBO Awards 2012 Lifetime Achievement recipient, Dionne Warwick.
Back in 2019, Dionne was honored with the Grammy Lifetime Achievement Award, a major recognition given only to artists who've truly changed the music game and made lasting contributions over the years. It was such a beautiful way to celebrate her dedication, her timeless voice, and the decades of effort she poured into her craft. Some of her biggest hits like Walk On By, Alfie, and Don't Make Me Over are even in the Grammy Hall of Fame, which basically means they've reached that legendary status. Songs that people keep loving generation after generation. But what a lot of people don't realize is that Dionne isn't just about the music. She's also a soldier for humanity. In one of her interviews with The Guardian, she spoke deeply about the importance of family and faith, saying she believes in the value of not being looked down on just because you love God. She talked about how that sense of faith and respect should be universal, not just something missing in the US. She said the world right now feels like it's in such a chaotic state, with wars, division, and segregation happening all over, and how emotionally, mentally, and physically, people everywhere are hurting. Her words showed how much she genuinely cares about humanity and peace, not just fame. And it's not just talk. Dionne has actually put in the work to make a difference. She served as a Goodwill Ambassador for the United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization, which shows her passion for helping others and fighting hunger worldwide. All in all, Dionne Warwick's long list of awards, honors, and humanitarian efforts show that she's not only a music icon, but also a compassionate soul who's used her platform to make the world a little better. Her story is one of resilience, love, and purpose, a reminder that true legends shine far beyond the stage.